The planet was dead. No trees, no rivers. Just black rock, broken metal, and clouds of dust. Long ago it had been a military science base, hidden deep in the outer rim. Now it was just silence and shadows. Marcus, a human scavenger, walked across the cracked ground. His boots crunched over bones, scrap, and rusted wires. He had come for parts, old tech, maybe a fuel core. The job was dangerous, but danger didn't scare him anymore. He entered the ruins through a half-buried door. It groaned as it opened. Inside, the air was cold and smelled like oil and blood. His flashlight lit the narrow hall. Old signs in alien, writing hung from the walls. Sparks flickered from broken lights. He moved slowly, scanning every corner, looking for salvage. But then, he heard something. A sound. Not metal, not machines. A soft cry. Marcus froze. He listened. It came again. A weak, high-pitched sob, like a child, like someone trying not to cry but failing. He followed the sound deeper into the base. The hallway led to a dark chamber. The door was half open. Inside were cages, rows of them. Most were empty, a few had bones. One still had something moving. Marcus stepped closer. Then he saw her, a little girl, small, thin, and alien. Her skin was pale blue, dirty, covered in bruises. Her eyes were too big for her face. Her arms were chained and her back was pressed to the wall of the cage. She shook as he approached. She looked up at him. Her lips moved, but no sound came. Her eyes were full of fear. Marcus raised his hands. "Hey, it's okay. I'm not here to hurt you." She didn't move. He crouched down slowly, shining his light toward her gently. He saw marks, scratches and scars on her legs and arms. And behind her cage, there were others, not like her. They were monsters. In the cages next to hers were strange, twisted creatures, part animal, part machine. Their eyes glowed red. They snarled and slammed against their bars, reaching for her. But she stayed quiet, shaking, trying to be small. Marcus understood now. She was not one of them. She was a prisoner among monsters. He stepped back and looked around the room. There was a control panel, old, rusted, but still working. He tapped the screen. Biospecimen, GRX-47. Subject, hybrid child. Containment priority, high, do not release. His stomach twisted. They had used her, locked her, studied her, and left her here to die. The creatures in the other cages howled as if they felt him defying the rules. He looked back at the girl. She was staring at him now, still silent. But her eyes weren't just scared anymore. They were begging. "Help me." Marcus made a decision. He smashed the control panel with his wrench. Sparks flew, the cages clicked. The girl's door swung open slowly. The other's door stayed shut, at least for now. He ran to her cage and stepped inside. "Come on," he said softly. "I'll get you out." She didn't move at first. Then she whispered one word, so soft he almost missed it. "Mama." Marcus froze. His heart broke. "I'm not your mama," he said, voice tight. "But I'll get you to her." He picked her up gently. She was light, too light, like she hadn't eaten in days. She wrapped her arms around his neck and buried her face in his shoulder. As he stepped out of the cage, one of the monsters next to them slammed its body against the bars. The cage bent slightly. Another roar echoed through the base. Something was waking up. He ran. Down the hall, through smoke, through falling dust. The building shook behind him. Alarms that hadn't worked in years suddenly came to life. Warning. Biocontainment failure, evacuate immediately. The base was falling apart. Marcus reached the exit and kicked open the outer door. Dust blasted into his face. His ship was parked just over the hill. He sprinted toward it, holding the girl tight, shielding her from the wind. Behind them, something screamed. Metal crashed. The monsters were free. He didn't look back. Inside the ship, He sealed the doors and launched. The engines roared. The sky turned red behind them as the base exploded. They were safe. For now. The girl lay curled up in the seat beside him, too tired to cry. Marcus looked down at her. "What's your name?" he asked. She didn't answer, but her hand reached out and touched his. He let her hold it. She was just a child, a forgotten one, left to die among monsters. But not anymore. Now, she wasn't alone. The ship floated quietly through space, away from the ruined planet. Inside the small cabin, the engines hummed softly. Marcus checked the controls again. Fuel steady, no one following. They were safe, but the silence behind him was heavy. He turned. The little alien girl was sitting in the corner of the cabin, knees pulled to her chest. She hadn't spoken since they left the planet. Not a word. Not a sound. She just sat there, wide eyes watching everything, too afraid to move. Marcus placed a soft blanket beside her. She didn't touch it. He returned to the front, opened a food pack and walked back. "You hungry?" he asked gently. She didn't look up. He placed the food near her and stepped away. Minutes passed. Then slowly, very slowly, her small hand reached for the package. She opened it, sniffed it, then took a tiny bite. Marcus smiled. It was a start. Later, he tried again. He brought her water. She drank it. He brought her a stuffed toy, an old one left by a pilot's child. She stared at it like she didn't understand. "His name's Spot," Marcus said. "He used to be my friend's. Maybe now he can be yours." Still no words. But she held the toy against her chest. Something inside her was melting. Walls were lowering, bit by bit. That night, Marcus set up a soft bedding area in the storage room for her. He didn't want her sleeping on metal floors. "You'll be more comfortable here," he said. She stood in the doorway for a long time. Then, without a word, walked in and lay down, holding Spot. Before Marcus turned the lights off, she whispered something. It was barely a whisper, but he heard it. "Ziri." He turned. "Is that your name?" She nodded once. Marcus gave a small nod in return. "Nice to meet you, Ziri." Then he let her sleep. Over the next few days, Ziri began to change. She didn't speak much, but she followed him around the ship. She watched how he worked. She mimicked his hand movements. She learned quickly. When he fixed a loose wire, she passed him tools. When he cooked, she sat on the counter, watching with quiet interest. Marcus noticed something else. At night, when she was asleep, her body gave off a soft glow. It wasn't bright, just enough to light up her pillow in the dark. Faint blue, pulsing gently like a heartbeat. He scanned her quietly, without waking her. What he found made his hands freeze. There was energy inside her, not just normal life energy, something more. Something powerful, controlled, designed. She had been altered. Marcus sat alone at the control panel, thinking hard. He had rescued her from monsters. But what if they hadn't just hurt her? What if they made her? The next day, Ziri stood by the window looking at the stars. Marcus joined her. "Beautiful, huh?" he said. She nodded. Her voice was soft. "I saw stars once, with Mama." "You remember her?" Ziri's eyes filled with tears. She wiped them quickly. Marcus placed a hand gently on her shoulder. "I'll help you find her, I promise." She looked at him, blinking. "You're nice," he smiled. "I try." She tilted her head. "Why did you take me?" He thought for a moment. "You looked like someone no one else was going to help." Ziri looked down. "They said I was a tool, a light battery." Marcus knelt down beside her. "You're not a tool, you're a child, you're a person." She looked at him closely, and for the first time, she smiled. Just a little. That night something happened. Ziri had a nightmare. She screamed in her sleep, twisting in her blanket. The glow around her body turned brighter, hotter. The whole ship shook. Marcus ran in and pulled her into his arms. "It's okay. You're safe." But her body sparked. The energy was reacting to her fear. He didn't let go. Even when the glow burned his arm slightly, he held her close and whispered again and again, "You're safe. You're not in that place anymore." Slowly, the light faded. Her breathing slowed. She clung to his shirt. "I was afraid," she whispered. "Afraid of the monsters." "They can't touch you now," he said. "I won't let them." Theory. Next morning, she didn't hide. She sat with him, quietly eating breakfast. Marcus looked at her and saw something new in her eyes. Trust, maybe even the beginning of love. A bond was forming, silent but strong, and deep in the stars, something else stirred. Ziri's mother opened her eyes on a distant moon. Her daughter's glow had returned to her heart. Like a signal. "She's alive," Velana whispered. "My child is alive." And now, she would search the galaxy to bring her home. A cold wind swept across the surface of the moon Kiral 4. The outpost there was small, just 3 buildings and a radio tower. Snow fell from a gray sky, covering the old landing pads with soft silence. Inside the tallest building, a figure stood alone by a scanner screen, her eyes glowing faintly with pale light. Velana. She hadn't slept in days. Her face was tired, her body thinner than before, but her spirit burned like fire. Wrapped in a heavy cloak and holding a tracking device in her hand, she whispered again, "She's alive." The glow had returned. She had felt it in her chest first, a warm pulse in her bones. Then the scanner picked it up, a faint trace of bioenergy, moving through space, unique, familiar. Ziri, her daughter. Velana had searched across 14 systems, chased rumors, begged smugglers, even threatened bounty hunters, all for one thing, her child. The girl taken from her arms by monsters. She still remembered the scream, still remembered Ziri's little hand slipping from hers in the chaos of that dark lab. They had dragged her away, locked her down, and blasted Velana into the void. But she didn't die. She survived. And now she had found the signal. "Where is she now?" she asked the scanner tech. The technician looked scared. Velana didn't threaten him. She didn't need to. Her eyes held too much pain for anyone to argue with. "She was last seen leaving orbit over Kregan 6, he said. "Small human ship, civilian, not a warship." Velana narrowed her eyes. Human, not the scientists, not the slavers. "Different. She's with someone," she whispered. "Someone who hasn't turned her in." The tech added carefully, "That's a scavenger route. They go there for old tech. Junk planets." Velana's fists clenched. They had kept Ziri among broken machines and monsters. She couldn't stop the images in her mind. Her daughter alone, cold, caged. She had to hurry. She left the station an hour later. Her ship was old, but fast, painted black with extra boosters welded to the wings. It had no name. She had erased it long ago. She no longer needed names. Only missions. The engines screamed as the ship blasted through atmosphere and into space. She didn't look back. While she flew, Velana remembered Ziri's laugh. Before the labs, before the pain. Ziri had loved starlight. She would stretch her fingers toward the window and say, "Mama, when I grow up, I want to fly." Velana used to laugh and promise, "You will. I'll teach you." That memory kept her going. She had failed once, but not again. After 2 days of jumping from system to system, Velana reached a refueling station near the coordinates the scanner had shown. She entered the bar where traders passed information. Rough-looking aliens filled the tables. Smugglers, bounty hunters, junkers. She walked slowly, cloak tight around her face, eyes watching. Then she heard it. 2 men at a corner table. "Yeah, Some human pulled a kid out of that old Kregan base, one said. Barely escaped with his life. Ship lit up like a lantern the moment they launched. Bio-light signature, the other asked. Yeah, like a damn star in the dark. Weirdest thing I've ever seen. Valana stepped forward. The men looked up, startled. I need to find that ship, she said. One of them laughed. What's it to you, lady? She dropped a small crystal on the table. Rare, expensive, glowing. Their laughter stopped. The man picked it up. Last I heard, he jumped toward the Nabari belt. Probably hiding. Kid like that? Every hunter in the system will be after them. Valana nodded once. Thank you. She left without another word. Back on her ship, she took a deep breath. She was close now, she could feel it. Her daughter wasn't just alive, she was moving, running. Why? Was the human good? Or using her? Valana didn't know yet. But she would find out. Somewhere far away, Marcus sat in the quiet of his ship, looking out into space. Ziri was asleep again, glowing faintly in her blanket. He didn't know it yet, but someone powerful was coming. Someone who would stop at nothing. Someone who had crossed the stars, hunted monsters, and outlived death itself, to bring her daughter home. Marcus watched the stars pass slowly through the window of his ship. It was quiet, almost too quiet. In the small corner of the ship, Ziri lay asleep, her body curled beneath a blanket, her stuffed toy Spot hugged, close to her chest. But tonight she wasn't still. She was glowing again, not softly this time, not like before. This glow was brighter, thicker, like her skin held a storm beneath it. Blue light leaked from her fingertips and flickered in her hair. Her breathing was uneven. Sweat rolled down her face. Then suddenly, she gasped. Marcus rushed to her side. Ziri, he said. Her eyes flew open, shining like stars. She sat up and screamed. The lights in the ship flickered. The floor trembled. Sparks burst from the ceiling. Ziri, it's okay, Marcus shouted, grabbing her shoulders. You're safe. You're with me. Her glow pulsed like a heartbeat and then faded. Her body slumped forward into his arms. She was breathing again, but weak. Her face pale. Marcus held her tightly. This wasn't just fear. This was something deeper. Something inside her was changing. The next day, Ziri woke slowly. Her body felt sore. Her voice was low. Did I break something? Marcus smiled a little. Only the lights. She looked scared. Sorry. He shook his head. Don't be. I just want to understand. Ziri sat up, hugging her knees. They said the glow was broken. Who said that? The whitecoats. The ones in the lab. They said I was unstable, not complete. Marcus's jaw tightened. They experimented on you, didn't they? She nodded. They gave me shots, told me to glow brighter. When I cried, they put cold light in my chest. Marcus stood slowly, his fists clenched. They didn't see a child, he said. They saw a weapon. Ziri's eyes filled with tears. Am I bad? No, Marcus said firmly. You're powerful. That scares people, but power doesn't make someone bad. She looked down. Then why do I feel like something inside me wants to explode? Marcus knelt beside her. Maybe because they tried to control it, instead of letting you learn who you are. Later, Marcus scanned her again using the ship's medical system. The readings were worse than before. Biocore unstable. Energy spikes increasing. Emotional triggers detected. Power level dangerous. He sat back in his chair, running a hand through his hair. This wasn't just a rescue anymore, it was a countdown. That night, as the ship floated near an asteroid field, Marcus checked the news. A new bounty had been posted, not for the child, but for the human man who stole her. His face, his ship, his name. Every major network had it now. He shut the screen off and muttered, "Damn it." Ziri walked in slowly. Are you mad? Not at you, he said quickly. She looked at him. Then why are your eyes sad? He turned toward her and smiled gently. Because I don't know how to protect you from everything. She walked closer and whispered, You don't have to. I'll protect you too. His heart sank. She was just a child. But they had turned her into something more. Somewhere far away, Valana's ship locked onto a faint trail. An energy signal from Ziri's core. The pulse was wild, unstable. Her heart pounded in her chest. She's slipping, Valana whispered. They pushed her too far. She pressed her engines to full power. She had to reach her daughter before the energy turned inward and destroyed her from within. Meanwhile, Marcus made a choice. He turned his ship toward a remote moon, a hidden lab once used by rebel scientists. He knew someone there, a friend, someone who owed him a favor. If anyone could help Ziri, it was Dr. Kassan. They landed the next morning. The lab was hidden behind tall red cliffs with wind howling through the cracks. Inside, Dr. Kassan's eyes widened when he saw the girl glowing behind Marcus. She's one of them, isn't she? One of who? Marcus asked. The Phoenix-class experiments, Kassan replied. Living batteries, self-generating energy sources. There were only 3 ever made. 2 were killed in testing. And the third? Dr. Kassan looked at Ziri. She's the last one. As Ziri sat on the scanner bed, Kassan ran deep tests. Her body was still small, still young, but inside her was enough power to light a city. Or destroy one. She's unstable, Kassan said. They didn't finish growing her. Her mind and her core aren't synced. When she feels too much, fear, anger, sadness, it causes surges. What happens if she overloads? Marcus asked. Kassan looked grim. She won't survive it. Neither will you. Outside the lab, Ziri sat on a bench, staring up at the moonlight. She held Spot in her arms. Then, a whisper came on the wind. Soft, strange. Ziri. She turned her head slowly. Far in the distance, a ship landed. Its engines glowed the same color as her own light. Inside it was someone she knew. Her mother. Valana had arrived, and this time, she would not leave without her child. The wind howled through the rocky cliffs of the forgotten moon. Dust danced around the old lab as the twin suns began to rise. The planet was quiet, but danger was already falling from the sky. They came in a black ship, fast, silent, cold. No markings, no names. Inside were 4 bounty hunters. Not just any kind, these were trackers trained to bring back stolen projects. To them, Ziri wasn't a child. She was an investment, a tool. A prize that escaped the lab and now had a price on her glowing head. Their leader, a woman with metal eyes and no emotion, looked at the scanner. She's here, she said. And she's glowing stronger than ever. What about the human? Another asked. The metal-eyed woman smiled faintly. We take him alive, then make her watch him die. Inside the lab, Marcus tightened the bolts on the outer gate. He had already sealed every exit. He placed 3 hidden charges in the canyon path, his last line of defense. Ziri stood behind him, holding her stuffed toy. Her glow was dim, but steady. Are the bad ones coming? She asked. Yes, Marcus said, but we'll stop them. She looked down. I don't want to hurt anyone. He knelt beside her. You won't. You don't have to. Just stay close to your mother. Her eyes lifted. She's here? Marcus nodded. Wait inside, he said. It's almost time. In the lab's control room. Valana stood still. She had waited so long, and now her daughter was just 1 door away. She didn't run to her. She walked slowly. Ziri stood in the hall, her small body framed by sunlight through a cracked wall. She clutched her toy tighter when she saw the woman. They stared at each other in silence. Then Ziri whispered, Mama. Valana's lips trembled. Yes, yes, little star. It's me. Ziri ran into her arms. Valana held her tight, tears rolling down her cheeks. I thought I'd lost you forever, she said. Ziri didn't speak. She just buried her face in her mother's shoulder. The warmth between them lit the hallway with a soft blue glow. Marcus stepped into the room, a rifle on, his back. Sorry to break the moment, but they've landed. Valana turned. How many? 4, but highly trained. Energy weapons, full armor. They won't negotiate. I can fight, she said, standing tall. I know, Marcus replied. That's why we have a chance. The bounty hunters entered the canyon slowly. One stepped on a rock. Click. A mine exploded, throwing dust and metal into the air. They ducked behind stone. The metal-eyed leader stood up and shouted toward the lab. Marcus, you have something. That belongs to us. Marcus stepped out onto the upper walkway, his coat flapping in the wind. She doesn't belong to anyone. Then you'll die for her. Marcus smiled. Worth it. Blaster fire exploded from the cliffs. Marcus fired back, then ducked behind cover. Valana jumped down from the side wall and attacked the nearest hunter. Her fists glowed with inner light. She had power too, passed down through Ziri's blood. She moved fast, clean, silent. One hunter fell. Ziri hid behind a crate inside, watching with wide eyes. Her body started to glow again, not from fear this time, from something else. Anger. Marcus took a hit to the leg. He fell with a groan. The leader stepped toward him. Should have walked away, human. I already walked into this, he muttered, raising his arm. He fired a stun blast, hit her square in the chest. She flew back into a rock, dazed, but she wasn't down. She stood again, limping. Ziri saw it all. She stood up slowly. Her body pulsed with light. Valana screamed, Ziri, no! But the girl stepped into the sun, and then she raised her hand. A burst of blue energy exploded from her chest, not wild like before, controlled, focused. It hit the lead hunter and knocked her back with such force, her armor cracked. Ziri didn't. Stop there, she stepped forward again, eyes glowing, voice steady. Leave. My family. Alone. The hunters froze. They had never seen a child channel power like this and remained standing. The metal-eyed leader struggled to rise, but dropped her weapon. Retreat, she barked. The others obeyed. Their ship lifted within minutes, engines screaming, in defeat. After the dust settled, Marcus leaned against the wall, bleeding. Valana helped him stand. Ziri ran to him. He smiled weakly. You really are something. You taught me to be brave, she whispered. Valana looked at him. You protected her when I couldn't. You gave her life, Marcus said. I just reminded her it matters. Valana stepped closer. You're not just her protector. Marcus raised an eyebrow. No, you're part of her now. Ziri nodded, holding both their hands. You're both my home, she said softly. As the stars rose that night, the small family sat together beneath the cliffs. No hunters, no cages, no fear, only light, and the promise of something new. The stars, above the moon, were quiet again. Inside the lab, the fire had been put out. Walls were cracked, blaster holes smoked, but no more enemies waited outside. The hunters were gone. Driven off not by guns, but by a child's courage. Ziri sat between her mother and Marcus on a soft mat in the lab's back room. Her small body leaned against Marcus's side, her hand gently holding her mother's fingers. The glow in her skin was faint now, peaceful. But peace didn't mean the danger was over, not yet. Dr. Kassan patched up Marcus's leg, then looked at Valana and said, Her body is still unstable. Every time she uses that power, it brings her closer to collapse. Valana stiffened. You said she was strong. She is, Kassan replied. But they didn't finish the process. They gave her power without giving her control. If she keeps using it like this, he didn't finish the sentence. He didn't have to. Valana looked at Ziri. Her daughter had fought to protect them, but the price of that fight was written in her tired eyes, her shaking hands. How do we save her? She asked. Kassan hesitated. There's one option, a deep core stabilizer. I can implant it. It will lock her. Power and stop the glow. Maybe forever. Valana's breath caught. She'll be normal. She'll be alive, Kassan said. But her gift will be gone. Later, when the lab was quiet, Valana stood outside beneath the stars. The cold wind brushed her face, but she didn't feel it. Marcus walked up, beside her, limping a little but standing tall. She's sleeping? He asked. Valana nodded. Like she used to, curled up like a flower. Marcus looked up. I remember when I first found her in that cage, surrounded by monsters. You saved her, Valana said. I just took her hand, he replied. She saved herself. They stood in silence for a moment. Then Marcus spoke again. You have to decide. Valana's voice was quiet. What would you do? I'd let her keep the power, he said. But I'm not her mother. I didn't carry her. I didn't run through fire for her. You did. She looked at him. But you gave her something I couldn't. A safe place, a kind voice. You let her be a child. He turned to her. And now, she needs you to be her future. Valana swallowed hard. What if I choose wrong? Marcus smiled gently. Then we faced the wrong together. In the morning, Valana sat by her daughter's bedside. Ziri opened her eyes slowly and yawned. Mama? I'm here, Ziri smiled sleepily. I had a dream. Tell me. I was flying, not with a ship, with wings made of light. You and Papa were watching from the stars. Valana blinked. Papa? Ziri nodded at Marcus, who stood at the door. He doesn't know I call him that. Valana held back a laugh. I think he'll like it. Then her face grew serious. Ziri, I need to ask you something. Ziri sat up slowly. There's something inside you, Valana said. A light, but it's hurting you. We can stop it. We can make you safe. But you won't glow anymore. Ziri was silent. I don't care about the glow, Valana said. I care about you. Ziri looked at her hands. But I am the glow. They made me that way. No, Valana said firmly. You're my daughter, not their experiment. Ziri's voice shook. Will I still be special? Valana pulled her close. You are the most special thing in the universe. With or without light. Ziri whispered. Okay. Dr. Kassan prepared the stabilizer. Marcus stood by, holding Ziri's small hand as the machine hummed. Valana kissed her forehead. You'll sleep for a little while. When you wake up, no more fear. No more explosions. Ziri looked at both of them. Will you be here? Always, Marcus said. Her eyes fluttered shut. The light inside her faded to nothing. When she woke, the stars outside the window looked the same, but the glow was gone. Ziri sat up and touched her chest. It's quiet now. Valana wrapped her arms around her. It's peace, she said. Later that day, the three of them stood at the ship's open ramp. They had packed supplies. Kassan gave them safe coordinates. A quiet planet, far from war, far from labs. A place to begin again. Where will we go? Ziri asked. Marcus smiled. Someplace with trees, maybe snow, and a hill to build a home on. Will there be birds? She asked. Valana laughed. There'll be everything. Ziri took their hands, and as the ship rose into the sky, for the first time in her life, she didn't feel like a project. She didn't feel like a weapon. She felt like a daughter. The sky over the green planet was wide and open. 3 suns rose slowly beyond the blue hills, casting golden light across the quiet fields. There were no cities here, no guards, no labs, just soft wind, the sound of distant birds, and the steady hum of a small house being built, piece by piece. Marcus knelt in the dirt, hammering down the frame of a wooden platform. His shirt was dusty, his hands scratched, but his face was calm. He didn't mind the work. Every board, every nail, every swing of the hammer meant something new. A home. Behind him, Ziri chased a cluster of tiny glowing insects. Her laughter echoed through the air like a song. She wore a bright red scarf tied by Valana, her mother, that trailed behind her like a comet tail. The glow in her body was gone now, but her smile made the world shine brighter than any light she had carried. Before, Valana stood by the edge of the hill, watching them both with quiet joy. She had never dreamed of a life like this. No danger, no fear, no hiding. Just days filled with planting seeds and learning to laugh again. Later that afternoon, they sat together under a tree. Valana braided Ziri's hair while Marcus told her a story about a starship that had once outrun an asteroid storm. Did it crash? Ziri asked. Marcus grinned. Almost, but the pilot was clever. He turned off the engines, let the storm pass, and then slipped right through. Ziri clapped. That's smart. You're smart, Valana said, and brave. Ziri tilted her head. But I'm not glowing anymore. Valana looked into her daughter's eyes. That glow was never your power. Ziri blinked. It wasn't? No, Valana whispered. You were the power. Ziri leaned against her mother's side and closed her eyes. That night, stars lit the sky in ribbons. Marcus sat outside on the porch steps looking up. Valana joined him, 2 mugs in her hands. Still waiting for something? She asked. He chuckled. Just thinking. About what? He looked over at her. About how I used to be alone. I told myself I liked it. I fixed machines, flew cheap jobs, kept my head down. Valana took a sip. And now? He looked through the window where Ziri slept with Spot in her arms, a small smile on her lips. Now I feel like I belong, he said. Valana's voice turned quiet. She calls you Papa. Marcus smiled gently. She can call me anything she wants. She doesn't say it out loud, Valana added. But she draws it in her pictures. He looked at her, surprised. Valana held out a folded paper. She gave me this today. He opened it. 3 figures. A man, a woman, a girl. They stood beneath stars holding hands. A small house sat on a hill behind them. At the top of the drawing, in blocky letters, Ziri had written, My forever family. Marcus swallowed hard. She sees us like that? She feels it, Valana said, and so do I. They sat in silence for a while. Then Valana turned to him. You never asked for this life. He looked at her. But I chose it. Every moment. She reached for his hand. You still choose us? Every day, he said. As long as you'll have me. Valana smiled. We already do. Weeks passed. The garden bloomed. Ziri grew stronger. She ran faster, climbed trees, and painted the walls of their home with bright shapes and stars. She made a new name for their hill. She called it the Stars Landing. It's where I fell from the sky, she explained, and where I landed into love. One evening, a message came through the old comms tower. It was from Dr. Kassan, short and simple. All threats erased. Lab shut down. Project ended. She is safe. Always. Marcus showed the message to Valana, who whispered a soft prayer of, thanks. Ziri didn't need to know. She had already moved on. That night, as they watched the stars once again, Ziri climbed onto Marcus's lap. Will we ever go back to space? She asked. Marcus raised an eyebrow. You miss flying? She nodded. Just a little. Valana leaned back. Maybe one day, when you're bigger, and only when you want to. Ziri thought for a moment, then said, only if we go together. Marcus kissed the top of her head. We always will. In the distance, the stars shimmered like tiny lights in the dark, and beneath them, on a quiet green hill, lived a little girl who had once been made to glow. But now she shined in a way no one could ever take away, not with power, not with fear, but with family and love forever.